Welcome back. Okay, we're going to try this again. Hi there, all you gurus, and welcome to this evening's Innate to Innate. We have an awesome guest with us here this evening. That's Dr. Kevin Ehl. And he's been a friend of mine for a number of years now. And I know you just shared your story about chiropractic. How far did you get in it?
I think I got through the whole thing, but just in case if you didn't hear, I think I've shared it with you before, but it just came through chiropractic in a roundabout way through baseball. And my brother's a chiropractor, and he helped me out along the way. And when my career was over, chiropractic chose me. Pretty cool circumstances.
Yeah, you were playing pro ball at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in the minor leagues for a little bit, getting paid to play a game.
That's fun. Good on you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
And was
fun.
it was your shoulder, your throwing shoulder then that was injured?
Yeah. I was a pitcher, and by the time that I'd finished playing, I was around 24, 25 years old, and I was probably going to need arms or shoulder surgery. Just clean some stuff up in there. And I figured at that point I'd played a couple of years and had some fun. And it's interesting, as I got into chiropractic and as I got into practicing, it really shifted my perception of how much baseball was able to teach me in that competitive sport and competition with others and with myself, and how much it was able to teach me and help me as a chiropractor.
And then in your journey, when was it that you met Arno?
I met Arno of like first quarter.
No
First
kidding.
quarter of chiropractic school. Yep. I remember I desperately wanted to learn how to adjust, and I can still remember seeing his old flyers in school, and I couldn't hear his voice saying it, but seeing his flyers that said "Making Love to the Spine," and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, who is this guy? And what seminar is this?" But man, it was just so impactful, and so grateful that he did those seminars.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That was awesome. Our school had no idea what to think of those posters. Yeah, in fact, I had a pretty interesting conversation with the dean of, I can't remember what it was, about his opinion of making love to the spine. And it's amazing to think how for some people that can be an intimidating conversation, to think that we're going to love a spine.
Yeah.
Right. And like really care for that and put intention and presence with the spine. And yet this is people's lifelines. This is the core of their being. And, it's such a gift that our clients offer us in laying their heads into our hands and trusting their core with us. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so early on, you got introduced to Arno. That's awesome. And was he the real catalyst then? Did he really get you inspired about chiropractic, or was there some other steps along the way?
Well, I mean, it was almost from the get-go, where the very first class, very first day of chiropractic school, it wasn't even a philosophy class. It was kind of the resident bearer of chiropractic flag, Jim Hawkins, who is like an honorary chiropractor, honorary doctor. And he just laid down the law and said, this is what it means to be a chiropractor, and this is what it means to go to Life West. And I remember having tears down my face, just listening to him and just thinking, man, this is home. This is what I meant to be doing my whole life. And everything, all my life experiences, playing baseball and, going to church and doing so many different things in my life really led me to this point of being a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how we're prepared along the way and kind of molded in ways. And, we think going through them that what's happening is because of what's in the moment. And sometimes we think, what did I do wrong to end up here? Or what did I do right to end up here? And then there's the other perspective too of it's what we're going through now is preparing us for who we're out to be.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I can remember just like hating some of my coaches that I had along the way and feeling like they didn't give me a great enough shot. Because I never had a problem with looking in the mirror and saying, okay, did you give 100% today? And I always felt like I gave it my all, but I can remember just feeling jaded for some of the coaches. And once I got into chiropractic school, I purposely wrote letters and contacted each one of my coaches, even the ones that I felt any sort of bitterness or resentment to. And I thanked them so dearly, the lessons that they gave me and how I couldn't see it as the time as, being so young and so kind of single-minded. And just to thank them and be in such gratitude for helping me along the way become who I am today.
Wow. Good on you, man. What a great exercise to do. And, I've done that with a couple of people in my life a couple of times, but, just in this moment, I'm getting there's opportunity to continue to work on this and to find gratitude for those hiccups along the way. Awesome message tonight, Kevin. Right on. So we got inspired about chiropractic, right? And we go to school. Now, what school were you at?
Life West.
Life West. That sounds tough.
It was definitely different from your experience of what chiropractic school, because Life West being in San Francisco Bay Area, beautiful. It kind of has a little bit of that Berkeley kind of hippie feel, or at least it used to. When I went there, the school was in a former elementary school. There was, had the lockers still in the school, and it had just this really cool vibe. There was a sand volleyball court there. There was you would see everyone all day long. You'd pass by each other in the hallways. Just had this kind of family feel to the place, and I think that had a huge impact on not just me, but on the education that we were given. So to see a poster, for Arnaud's Making Love to the Spine, it was totally accepted. It was like, well, yeah, of course you would,
That excellent and beautiful area. And then you got through school, you made it out, and now you're in Port Moody. What had you pick Port Moody?
Well, my wife, she's Canadian. She's from the Tri-Cities area. She's born and raised in the Tri-Cities, and we wanted to raise a family here. And I loved the Tri-Cities area. So it was kind of a toss-up between Coquitlam and Port Moody. And since, again, being from Southern California, I wanted to be as close to the water as possible. And so Port Moody, we're right on the water, right on the sound here, and it just felt like home. Just felt like home to me.
Awesome. That's excellent. And, one of my favorite posts that you've thrown on your Facebook page in the last number of months has been, you got a picture of you and your kids and Danica, and you guys are heading out skiing. You're at Whistler. And the caption reads, I've had a lot of days recently that have been my favorite days of my life. And this has been one of them. And, I know how near and dear your family is. So take a moment. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, I have two boys, 8 and 11, Gavin and Greer, and yeah, I mean they're just it's amazing. You know, I always heard that your spouse is your mirror, right? They'll reflect the beautiful parts of you, and they'll reflect the parts that are agitating, let's say. And man, your kids are the same way. They're just little versions of it, just smaller mirrors, or sometimes a lot bigger mirrors. But yeah, just to, you know, before that, one of my favorite memories was being at Disneyland and having my boy on my shoulders, watching the fireworks and watching the parade, because I remember being on my dad's shoulders doing the same thing. And then so to do that up at Whistler and to go skiing with my boys and you know, they're skiing with us and just watching, and there's my wife skiing and then there's the boys, and it was just a magical moment, and just something I'll cherish forever.
Awesome. Love it, man. I'm getting goosebumps over here. Truth bumps, eh? Those are the moments that we all live for. That's great. So I know one of the things you're really passionate about is helping people wake up to a bigger version of what health can be for them in their lives. I think you and I both share this sense that a lot of people are under some illusions in regards to their health, you know, kind of cultural illusions. And so I'd really love to pick your brain tonight and really tap into what you see as being some of those core misbeliefs that an average person has. Let's start with that, and then we'll go into the bigger inspirational piece as time goes on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. I was talking to my wife the other night, and she said, you know, she was sitting in bed in the morning and having a little cup of coffee, and our oldest boy jumped into bed with her, and a commercial came on about appetite suppression and appetite suppression drugs. And they, you know, it was really quick blip about appetite suppression, but then of course, like the next minute is about all the side effects, you know, diarrhea or constipation, fatigue, all sorts of stuff. And, you know, being an 11-year-old boy, he was like, why on earth? Like, why wouldn't you just eat, just not eat, you know? Right. And just like, why would you want to have all those symptoms? And so my wife was relaying this story to me, and I said, you know, it's interesting in that as an 11-year-old, he hasn't been bombarded with that yet. So he still sees all those side effects, and which makes up the majority of the commercial. And he's just blown away by like, how can this be? But so many people are just inundated constantly with all this, these drugs and so many things of commercials and advertisements of this is how it is, you know? And so people, they struggle with weight loss, and so they initially see like, well, I'm not going to take that. You know, let's take when we were kids, or not when we were kids, but what, about 20 years ago when they came out with the fat-free, I think it was called Olea or something like that. And they were like, oh, you can eat a whole, you know, 2 bags of potato chips, and there's never going to be an issue because it just goes straight through you. Well, all of a sudden it was giving diarrhea to everybody and constipation cramps and all sorts of things. And people were outraged, but within a month, 2 months, it was on the shelves and people were eating it. They didn't care because they could, you know, gorge themselves with a bag of potato chips and not feel like they were gaining weight.
Right. Crazy.
We know how bad aspartame is for us, but yet people still drink diet soda. Like, it's like one of the biggest knowns on the planet that artificial sweeteners is bad for you, yet people are still like, well, I gotta have my soda, you know, drink water.
Awesome. All right. Well, so I'm not the only person who got on my soapbox tonight. That's great. For those of you tuning in, Kevin I got to witness very charged Norm, to tell you earlier. And for everybody who's jumping on the line right now, I'd love you to just throw in your name and where you're from. Karen, I see you're on board. Heather Lynn, that's awesome. Danica, maybe you're out there. Throw in your name and where you're from. I think there's a few other people joining in, so we'd love to hear from you. And as always, this is a co-creative experience. So not just me and Kevin are going to chat it down, you guys as well. This is an opportunity for you to connect with a pretty awesome guy who knows a ton about health and peak performance and getting in contact with Innate and the flow too. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but let's stick with so we touched on the misbeliefs, the illusions of health. Now there's the flip side of this. There's the flip side of this, and which is about, really taking care of ourselves and tapping into a well-being, peak performance, if you will. And I think for everybody, that's a little bit unique in how that looks. For some people who are squash players, it's being in the zone and getting to that ball a little bit quicker than their partner can. And for other people, it's, just being more in touch with parenting and being able to love more and love deeper. So Kevin, what do you see? Let's see, what do you see as being the main vehicle to help people get in contact and really express their peak performance or their wellness?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry, Norm.
No problem. That's cool. So we know that's possible for all of us. I'd love to hear the vehicle. So the strategies, how does it work for you? What allows you through these years of peak performance? Let's give some people some tangibles on how to move in a different direction.
Absolutely. It's, to me, in my practice, I really want people to tap into the doctor within, the innate wisdom within, the inner guru. And again, going back to what society typically has us do is to listen outside of ourselves, right? And to see, to look at markers or to look at, body image or whatever, and use that as a determination of health, which really it has nothing to do with health. And so for me, it's a matter of getting people to listen to that little voice. And initially it is a little voice. Initially it's this little kind of squeaky voice because it's been suppressed for so long, but the more you acknowledge it, the more a person acknowledges it, the more they really sit with it. And they allow it to grow, then the louder it gets. Tell people all the time, it's people who don't know what that voice sounds like, it's that voice that tells you when you go up to the McDonald's drive-thru, and either says, keep driving, don't stop, or says, well, okay, we understand that this is a necessity and you have to get through this. Grab a salad, and don't get a soda, get a water, and usually it's that suppressive voice that says, no, I'm just going to get, I'll give a Big Mac and fries, and you know what, I'll do a tea instead of a soda. But then the person says, oh, would you like to supersize that? Oh yeah, why not? I'll supersize it for 50 cents. Well, that's squashing that inner voice. Just listen to that inner voice and acknowledge it and say, you know what? Yeah, this is what my body wants. This is what my body craves. The same thing going to the superstore or to the grocery store and saying, okay, well, what am I craving? What does my body want? Rather than just grabbing what the special is and what's on sale. Just going through the whole foods, the real food section and saying, okay, what looks good and what sounds good? It's simple little steps like that where you can really start to listen to your body and then you can take that to other areas of your life, be it exercise, be it stretching, be it when to get adjusted.
Love it, man. This is great. Hey, if you want to come teach the modules for My Inner Guru,
learning enough from you.
This is great, buddy. This is this week's assignment was go to the grocery store and tune in to what foods you're drawn to and the energies of the foods. You know, and sometimes there's two apples sitting side by side, but they've been grown on very different farms, picked by different farmers, and have a very different essence to them. So I'm loving the conversation. And this is the most commonly asked question that we have on the program is, how do I know if I'm listening to the inner guru or the inner ego, right? How do I know if I'm listening to innate or if it's ego? And so you're touching on it, and man, it sounds simple to you. And I know that simple, there's truth in simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for me, again, it's all about, in the moment, if there's any doubt or any question, to me, it comes down to two questions. And it comes down to, am I making this decision or am I making this choice based out of love or out of fear?
Wow.
And really, the fear ties into, you know, the head. It ties into the consciousness of, well, I should do this or I shouldn't do this. You know, I'm really craving this and I want this. Whereas really, if you sit down into it and say, okay, am I making this decision based out of love? Love for my body, love for my wisdom, love for my health, love for my family. If you can tap into that and listen and be quiet, then that will guide you.
Beautiful. Love it. And just the stillness of just sitting into it and taking that moment to rest into and then ask the question, is this based in love or fear? So love is our first pillar of the My Inner Guru program. You're nailing it tonight. That's awesome. Did you do some research before?
Nope.
So
we're just on the same path.
That's awesome. And so then there's the big question, you know, like, what is love, right? And how, you know, that whole deal. In one of my more memorable moments with you, I've had a lot of really precious moments with you, I want to be honest with you. And one of my more memorable moments was you were telling me about love and about having your two boys. And, you know, when the first boy came to the world, it was like, wow, you know, loving another being. This was like huge for you. And I mean, Danica was there too, but this was just the expansion of your family, and you felt like you were giving it all. And then your message was that when your second boy came, there was just more love to give, that you just opened to another level, that you felt like there wasn't any more to give before that, but then it just went to this next level. You with me on that? You remember that?
Yeah, totally. Cool. And I can feel that, and it was both for Danica and I. You know, for both of us, it was that question of like, our hearts are so full of love. Where is that going to come from? Where is that it just seemed unfathomable that there was more love to give. And then it just appeared. It just came. It's like, you know, this being that came into our lives just came with this potential. And that potential, that empty potential, was just filled automatically with love.
Beautiful. So what is love?
Wow. That's the big question to me. I mean, that's what we're here on Earth, in this physical planet, this physical state of being. To me, that's why we're here, is to find that question out for each of us. You know, what is love? And to me, it's just that feeling of singularity with the bigness, with the greatness, be it the inner guru, be it, whatever you call that bigness, whatever you call that greatness, but it's just that perfection, that moment, that feeling where everything is perfect.
When you're hitting the slopes with your family and you just have that moment where it's like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm here.
In between that moment of don't hit the tree and slow down. It's that, oh God, so beautiful. Look at him, it just fills the heart.
It's beautiful. So DeMartini claims that this is where our perceptions are balanced and where we're present with what is. And I think those moments do have an ability to kind of have us drop from our head to our heart and really open to the moment and feel into the beauty of the moment. Love it. So for a lot of people, their toughest place to love is themselves. Ideas, suggestions, thoughts on that?
Well, I would say first and foremost, everyone is a reflection of ourselves, so what I see and love about you, Norm, is also the things that I see and love about myself. I just haven't grasped it. I haven't connected to it. I won't allow myself to see it in myself. Somebody very close to me, she sees others as being so funny. And she's always like, oh, this person is so funny and this person is so funny. I just wish I could be that funny, And I tell her all the time, like, no, you're actually funny too. You just don't grasp it. You don't own it. And I think, again, so much, talking about what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable in our society. Our society has been so set up to not allow people to love themselves. They see it as either egotistical, they see it as, selfish. But really, you have to love yourself. You have to grasp yourself before you can help others. And so much of my day, every day that I'm adjusting, so much of my day is spent telling moms, you have to love yourself first. And you have to take care of yourself first before you can give your best to the rest of the family. And if you don't do that, then your health is going to start to fail. And you're not going to be able to give your best. And then you're going to get frustrated. And I don't know about, their household, but in my household, when mom's health fails, it's like a house of cards, man. Like the whole thing. I do my best. I'll do my best. I'll do, the laundry and the dishes and cooking. I love to cook, but it's just not the same. Moms they're the glue, they're the strength, and they have to take care of themselves. But we all do. It's everyone deserves to take care of themselves. It's not that we want to ignore others. We don't want to put others, in a lower level, but to truly honor other people in our lives, we need to be happy. We need to be connected. We need to be at our fullest in order to be at our best, in order to serve the best to others.
Love it. You have a morning routine, ritual?
I do. It varies, though.
Of course.
It varies. Yeah. Again, to me, being that kind of fluid, person that I am, if you say routine, it kind of cringes in me. You know me for forever. You know that if you try and put me on a routine or a schedule, it's a challenge. It's one of my biggest challenges in life. So I do really feel my best when I exercise, when I have a moment of silent meditation or intention, and I really, really do my best to get that done every day. Again, Arno, we were talking about Arno, like he always had like the same thing that he would do every single morning. And I love it. I love it. And I try to do it, and it doesn't feed my inner guru. My inner guru wants newness. It wants to, do different things. It wants to learn different things. And so that's part of my morning daily routine.
Yeah, love it. Awesome, buddy. And, I think this is really cool that you're touching on this, because people struggle with that when they're looking at routine or, it becomes structure. And we really have to honor our own style, our own essence in what feeds us. And, for those of you who are just tuning in here, number one, pop in your name. All right. I'm seeing a lot of people jumping on board. That's great. We're having a few more people join the call. We had technical glitches for our first one. That was we resolved anyways. But I'm seeing a number of people here jumping on. So throw in your name. Where are you from? And we have been chatting down some good conversation here. I want to just bring this up. So my inner guru's piping in. And those of you who might have missed this was an awesome bit of wisdom. Kevin suggested before, to ask the simple question, I'm making this decision or choice out of love or fear. Is a great way to get clear on our behaviors, on our action steps. And this is something that Kevin was talking about, the importance of tuning in to our inner guru. And then, inner guru pops up here again. It's a quantum leap in loving deeper. I agree, man. This is awesome. Really appreciate it. Yeah. And Kevin is one of the more in the flow kind of guys I know, which means that for most of the speakers that are guests that we've had on My Inner Guru so far, we might have had a couple of questions prepared. We certainly had a title. We had, a starting point, all that. Kevin and I, nope. This is all emerging in the moment. This is authentic in the flow. And so let's talk about being in the flow. It's something that you do really well. I've had the opportunity of watching you adjust. You're in an open concept room. There's different people, tables. You love to jump over, answer the phone, be part secretary some days. And, you have this knack at just kind of dancing, with your day. Is that your innate? Do you think that everybody has access to that sort of flow and being in the moment?
I think everybody has access to being in the flow and being in the moment, but it's definitely not going to look like mine. Right. Like as you were saying, some people have questions, when you've done this before with others, you've had a couple of questions and a sets, kind of set topics and stuff like that. And my wife is definitely one of those people who loves structure, and the fact that I was going to do this without preset questions was just like, it was not tapping into her inner guru. She, it just, that's way outside of what speaks to her soul, whereas for me, as soon as she started talking like, you need to start thinking of topics and questions and things like that, I could feel myself totally ungrounded and totally just like going into that place of fear and going like, well, man, I don't want to do this, and it was a very real conversation for me of like, okay, well, if, and before you contacted me and said, hey, I just want to do a little brainstorming, that was the conversation in my head was like, okay, well, if he wants questions and if he wants me to like say, think of all these things to do, I can't do this because it just doesn't feed my soul, but to play in this, to play in the now, we could talk about anything. But just to be connected with another soul, another spirit, you did an Inner Guru with Dr. Nima, and he posted something on Facebook. I think it was today, this morning, about he did like a small little seminar downtown, and he was talking about how much he loved that connection, and being in the room with people and talking people one-to-one. And to me, that's what I love about being here with you, in that whether we're on, different regions or different places, we're still so right there with each other. It's like we're right next to each other, and I can feel your energy and your love, and and it's just, to me, it's authentic.
Awesome.
And if people can be authentic, oh man, they're gonna rock it.
Yeah,
they're absolutely gonna rock it.
Cool. Well, like I said, I think I introduced last call, which isn't on this video, but the way I introduced last video was about, hey, you're one of those people and who really allows me, I feel like I'm really authentic around you. You really give me permission. And I bet you that's true for a lot of people in your life. So that's cool. Go ahead.
I would hope so. Thank you. No, I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to touch on, though, I saw like on the little Inner Guru thing that went up, and you mentioned the questions, the 2 questions to ask, and it just popped up into my mind really quick. And one thing that, as parents, my wife and I, we really try to instill in our children too, is when they're injured or when they're sick or when their health is starting to shift, we really try and have them be present with that and try and go, okay, is this a normal, natural process? Am I safe? Is my body doing what it needs to do? Or is this danger? Is this something where I need more help with? And I think that's a big part in so many people, again, in so many people's lives, where they get so caught up if they see blood or if they see, symptoms of any kind. And rather than going, oh my God, what's going on? I need to take this medication, or I need to go to the hospital. Be present with it. Talk to that Inner Guru and say, okay, am I okay? Is this a normal process? So again, it's 2 simple questions that they can just tap into.
Love it. Again, truth. Truth is simple, and it's just like just settling into it and asking that simple question. Both of our number 1 mentors or teachers in life was Arno, and Arno was phenomenal at his willingness to trust Innate. And he told some incredible stories about how he allowed his body to just work through incredible traumas. I remember he had blood in his urine at one point, and he just let it work through the process. Incredible. And I think we take that for granted at times, Kevin, that we did have those extraordinary moments with Arno and being able to have these, there were very personal, intense conversations with them. A lot of people don't have those sorts of experiences around health or their body. And so it can be pretty different when we start, opening up the door of just saying, hey, there's, a health process happening here, and maybe it's okay if you throw up.
Yeah, totally. And to me, again, it goes back to that fear, well, what happens if I let this process, what happens if I don't suppress this symptom? And to me, again, it just gets down to the point of those 2 questions, and even those two questions of, am I safe? Is this a normal process? And then, am I making these decisions based on love or based on fear? And I don't know about you, or the people who are watching, but honestly, I cannot recall any decision that I've ever made based out of fear being a good outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just doesn't fit in my world. It doesn't fit in my realm.
Right. Right. No, yeah, when we're in fear, we're moving away from something. You know, we're closing down. The physiology of the cells actually change. We go into a defense physiology. And yeah, for sure. And so, you know, maybe necessary if we're having to run away from a lion or something. But yeah, in our everyday conscious life, it not necessary. And yet a lot of us have a lot of real fear, you know, that we, you know, I was talking to you about one before the call, you know, and is that imaginary? You know, I guess there's triggers unresolved energy within me that creates that. Yeah.
Totally. And even going back to the tiger, the decision to run away from the tiger is still based out of love. It's not based out of fear.
Right.
Because you love yourself to save yourself, right? To not jump off of a 100-foot cliff. That's not a decision based out of fear.
Yeah.
It's a decision based out of love for your life.
Sure.
You know, and so it sounds like a simple play on words, and that's another, like, I'm a huge person on words, because words are so powerful. Not only do they have the definition behind them, but they also have the energy. You know, they have this huge potential that travels with those words, you know? Mm-hmm. And so to be clear on the words you choose and the words you use to define your actions and who you are, it's amazing.
Yeah, very intentional. Awesome. Awesome. Love it, buddy. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people, more people anyways, jumping on the call. That's great. And Wendy Jeancart, nice to have you on board. I'm going to just throw up Wendy's comment. We haven't seen you forever, Wendy. Heather says hi. Love the discussion regarding those who thrive with structure and those who thrive without it. Absolutely. We're all different, eh? It's amazing. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who's a chiropractor, and he'll remain nameless, but he was having a hard time with his soon-to-be fiance. They had different viewpoints. He was stuck. He's like, I just want to marry somebody who has the same values as me. It would be just perfect if she thought the way I did. Oh, I thought it was so funny. That's the beauty of life, is our differences, right? And appreciating those differences and learning what works for some and what doesn't work for others, and really honoring that. I think it's a huge part in this. Another thing that you and I have in common is our appreciation for Alex Gray.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, some of our peeps will know Alex Gray and some won't, but if you get a moment later tonight, Google search Alex Gray, and that's Grey. He's got some phenomenal artwork out there. And I kind of want to tie in Alex Gray and Sue Brown and the understanding of the sacred geometry of our human body. Which, you know, in the network world, we talk a lot about energy, but we don't talk so much about the sacred geometry. And I'd love to hear and I don't know what the question is, I'd love to hear you just kind of talk. Could you marry the two, Sue Brown, Alex Gray, and I'll give you like 5 minutes to just download on me and us?
Well, I would say first and foremost, for those of you who do or don't know Alex Gray, he's a visionary artist. Who early on in his career used some psychedelic paraphernalia, psychedelic drugs, in order to see energy, in order to see life force. And the really cool thing is, not that it's incredibly important, but the cool thing is talking to him while I was in chiropractic school, is he no longer uses those psychedelics because now he sees what's possible. He sees that energy is out there. And so the really cool thing that he does is he just draws these beautiful paintings that show our physical beings, but being in an energetic world, and our energetic beings just emanating and interacting with so many different things. And how that ties into the type of work that I do, that Sue Brown so eloquently worked with others to bring about. It's a way of understanding how energy gets stored into our system and how it distorts through the geometry of our system. And so by understanding the geometry of the system, it allows me to step back and go, okay, does this make sense? How it distorts through the body, how it's creating the symptoms, or maybe even why it's creating the symptoms. And then how does it make sense to get this energy to shift through the system with the best means possible? And it can be as gentle as possible. It can be as forceful as possible. It's whatever the system requires. And again, for me, it's that dance, and it's kind of like it allows me to see people's rhythm and to see people's unique dance, and then to just kind of tweak those dances and go, you know what? Your dance is beautiful, but if you step out this way just a little bit more, you're going to just thrive and you're going to just kill it.
Awesome. Love it. So you teach dance lessons in your chiropractic office then?
No, I do the white man's overbite, and that's about it. Yeah. If anybody, go to Dr. Nima for dancing. He'll teach you salsa like no tomorrow and anything else. But I'll dance with their innate guru.
There you go. Absolutely. And I vouch for that when I've been in your office. It gets pretty groovy in there. My spine starts dancing in ways that I didn't know was necessarily possible, and you've tweaked some of my dance moves. So love it. All right. So then sacred geometry. So for somebody who might be new to sacred geometry, can you orientate our body and just some of the how that plays out in our body?
Yeah. So I mean, there's different planes of the body. So there's a front plane, there's a back plane or posterior, and then there's side planes. And so the geometry of the system is set up in that it's based on triangles. Triangles being the strongest structure in nature. You can see, like on the front of my face here, there's a triangle. Coming down the sides of my neck forms the sides of a triangle. Even if you look at the front of the pelvis, is in the shape of a triangle. The sacrum or the small of the back even is on the shape of a triangle. So there's triangles that run up the back of the body, down the front of the body. And in my understanding and how I play in the chiropractic realm, when we encounter an experience, be it physical, chemical, or emotional, that we cannot process, or that our subconscious even can't process, our bodies hold on to that stored experience, that stored energy. And it creates a dissonant tone. And that dissonant tone creates a distortion. And so through that distortion, it will pull through different parts of the structures of the body. And so by me understanding that geometry of the system, I can make sense of that and go, oh, okay, so this is why the shoulder is pulling this way. This is why the jaw is pulling this way. This is why one eye would be higher. And if there's a connectedness throughout the entire system, it allows me to say, okay, so this would be how I can address the body in the most subtle way. The really cool thing is, as that geometry starts to open up, then we can even see changes in structures in people. It's cool to see people's hat sizes change, to see their waist size change, but yet they haven't gained or lost any weight.
Wow.
And so it's really cool just to see how that geometry affects that flow of energy and affects our physical being as well.
Love it. So let's field some questions in here. Who else is jumping in? I'm not seeing any other questions. People, if you have any questions for Kevin, here is your chance. Excellent. The layers of healing. So in the distortional planes, I'm going to ask one more technical question because I want to just get every else I can out of you tonight, and then we're going to ask you your favorite BJ quote.
Ooh. Okay.
All right, good. Excellent. So the layers of healing in the NSA world, we talk about physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and how that plays through in the geometrical patterns of the body. Do those energies, do you feel into the different types of energies when you're working with people? Do you feel a different resonance, whether it's emotional tone or physical tone? Do you worry much about that?
I do, but I don't have a set dialogue or anything. So if I sense that, let's say, somebody's really holding on to a lot of emotional stuff and pulling right through the bottom of the neck, if I feel that there is very little connectedness to their body or to their inner inner guru, their innate, I probably won't tell them, wow, you're really holding on to a lot of emotions right here.
Right.
Just because I don't want to, kind of blow them away and freak them out, so I kind of meet them where they're at. And then I may just kind of casually, as they're leaving, say like, hey, is there some things that you've been trying to say in your life that you've been suppressing? And maybe just try and sing that, sing your tune. But yeah, it's, and I have a lot of people who ask me all the time, well, what do you feel? And for me, I think because my goal is to dance with each individual, what I feel in the people's systems is different. And what I see in people's systems are different. So what may feel like an emotion in one person, a stored emotion, is going to feel totally different in the person laying next to them, to me anyways. And what feels like predominantly physical is going to feel predominantly physical different in somebody else. But the other thing I want to say too is, because we're physical, emotional, and spiritual beings, just as you cannot separate physical from emotional from spiritual, you can't do that in body anyways. So even if I feel something that's emotional in the neck, it's not totally emotional, right? It's still going to have an energetic component. It's still going to have a chemical component. It's still going to have a physical component. It may be like, 60, 30, 10, or something to that component. But if people are open enough that I'm adjusting, if they're open enough at the time, then yeah, I'll jump into it. Absolutely.
That's great. I love it. I think sometimes in the NSA world, we get a little bit too heady in analyzing all the little bits of information. And Donnie is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and his understanding of energy. And I think sometimes we get a little bit too much in our conceptual framework, and just to be present with what's there, and to recognize that there is the different components, and I know that, it's not just an emotional thing. There's physical, and then there's, the chemicals that are held with it and everything else. That makes a ton of sense. Awesome. So I want to hear from you, your favorite BJ quote.
That's awesome. You know what? It's not really a BJ quote. It's just more of the BJ story.
All right.
My favorite BJ story is when he was in Hawaii, and he was at the mouth of the volcano, and they were looking down, and there was a tour guide in their group, and the tour guide had some like an upset stomach, and so the tour guide was, popping like the Tums or whatever they were taking at that time. And they were looking down, and he was explaining, the tour guide was explaining the volcano and how it was the god Pele, and Pele, gets upset and mad, and the volcano explodes over. And BJ reached over and grabbed the guy's antacids, his Tums, and he threw it into the volcano. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm just curing his symptoms. Right? I'm addressing his symptoms with your Tums." And he was just trying to point out how ridiculous it was, like this is perfection. This is nature. Why are you taking this for yourself? And like, shouldn't it work on a volcano then? I loved how he thought outside the box so well, in a time where it just wasn't allowed, even more so than today.
Love it. That's great, buddy. All right. So Karen chimes in with a question here. We're going to bring that up. And Karen asks, can this emotional component of the energy block be freed up without addressing the emotional component? I know my answer to that. I'm curious to know Kevin's. Go ahead.
Block be freed up without addressing. I would tend to say it depends on the individual. You can always, to me, well, let me back up. In my sandbox here, there is a reason why we store stuff. There's a reason why we have a block. Because to me, there is perfection in the universe. There's perfection out there. So if we're storing stuff, there's a reason why we're storing stuff. And to me, the reason why we store it is so we can revisit that. We can revisit that stored blockage, that stored experience, that stored energy, and we can grow and evolve from it. Now, if we just free it or try and brush it away or shoo it away, we lose that beautiful opportunity to grow, to learn, to evolve, to elevate our consciousness. And so going back to the question now, can you integrate, can you learn and open up that emotional component, that emotional blockage without addressing the emotions? I'm not sure it's possible. You may be able to do it at that time, at that instant, but down the line, when that experience comes up again, that universe presents that experience one more time, it's going to hit you right in the head, and you're going to go, whoa, I remember when that happened last time. Now I have the skills and the elevated intelligence to better process that.
I think that's the beautiful part of the work, the intention that both you and I hold when we're working with a client, in that we're looking at helping the individual's nervous system evolve new strategies so they can process this information in ways that they haven't yet been able to. And so I don't think the emotions would be nearly as intimidating, having worked through on our tables some of these blocked emotions or experiences. Great question, Karen, and love your answer, Kevin.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's great. Awesome. Okay, so hey, it's been an awesome night here tonight, and we thank everybody for tuning in as late as you have. Do you have any parting thoughts, Kevin?
And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share some of my truths and to open up my sandbox a little bit and play around. And thank you and love you so much, Norm, for all that you do, all the love that you show and shine. And so honored to be part of really anything you do, because I know it's tapped into authenticity.
It's tapped into authenticity, brother, and you brought it out at me tonight. So thank you for that. And everybody else who joined in tonight, thank you so much. It's really an honor and a privilege to build this community here together. And Kevin, you added a lot of wisdom tonight, and this is going to be an asset to our Minor Guru community. We'll put it up on our our webpage, and you're welcome to put this up on your page too. That's cool. So we're going to finish off on that note. It's been an awesome night with Dr. Kevin Ehl. And hey, if they want to get in touch with you, Kevin, how do they do that?
Excuse me. Best option, excuse me, would either be through Facebook at Cafe Port Moody on Facebook, or cafeportmoody.com. Those would be probably the best two options. I'll have all the rest of my information on there.
Okay, excellent. Good stuff. And hey, guys, if you live in Port Moody or you're driving through, go check him out. It's an awesome experience, an adjustment unlike anything else. I'll definitely say that. Okay, so on that note, everybody out there, I'm reminding you to attune to your wisdom within, to be authentic, and to rest in that place and ask the question, is this love or is this fear? Where is this coming from? That was a great piece of wisdom. And Kevin, the innate in me blesses the innate in you. Have a great night. Awesome.
Thanks,
be well.
Love you, brother.